Hello friends, welcome to my 2022 reading journal flip through video. In this video, I'm going to walk you through all of the spreads that I made for last year. As you can see, I have two journals here because I ran out of space on my first one and I decided to try another size for the second half of the year. And so for the second half of the year, I decided to use a letter size journal from Archer and Olive, and I am an affiliate with them. So if you do want to purchase, feel free to use my code PJ10 to get 10% off your order. I already showed you my first journal for the first 6 months of the year. However, I'm gonna go and do a flip through all of the spreads, and then the ones that are in this journal are gonna be all the new spreads for you for the second half of the year. So without further ado, I'm gonna start the flip through on this one. I wasn't able to finish my A to Z challenge. As you can see, I'm missing 3 letters next year. I mean this year. So for the second half of the year, these were my top books. In July, my favorite book was The Art of Racing in the Rain. August was Little Thieves. September was Babel. October was Demon in the Woods. November was The Book Eaters, and December was Only a Monster. My top book for the year was Babel. I really love it. Highly recommend it. I am missing 1 prompt in my book bingo challenge, but other than that, I finished all of them. I happily read all of my reading challenge Goodreads goal with all of my bonus as well, plus extra. I didn't read all of my 22 books in 2022. I gave up in this reading challenge. is the end of my reading journal spreads as of July. Now I'm going to show you all of the new reading journal spreads that I made in my new journal for the rest of the second half of the year. So when you open it, this was my cover page, and for this cover page I mainly use scrapbooking paper to make the books, and then this one, and then I use some washi tape from Notebook Therapy. This is the Vintage Rose collection. Next here I have my index page, and again this is a scrapbooking paper from Stamperia, and this was my bookshelfie. I made a new one just for this journal, so this only has the books that I wrote about in this journal. I had this empty page, so I figured I'll just put a bit of a rice paper in there. Next, it's my books TBR, and these are just my physical TBR books. I'm trying to be better at reading all of my physical books that I've bought, and so this has helped me keep track of all of them and which one I've read and which one I haven't yet. Next one is the first line of the book spread, and I really like this spread. It's just like very cool trying to match up which line it goes with each book. And these stickers are from Pineberry paper, and I do have a discount code with them, so if you do want to check it out, I'm going to put the link on my bio. Next is my series tracker, and again, like, this has been very helpful trying to see how many books I'm along. Next, we go through the actual book spreads. So like I mentioned, this is for the second half of the year, so I start with August, and this is my August cover page. These are all the books that I read for that month, and this is just simple stats. These stickers are also from Pineberry paper. The first book that I read was This Vicious Grace, and this is the first book in a series. I wasn't a huge fan of it, so I don't think I'm going to continue reading the series. Next one was Little Thieves, and I absolutely adore this book, so I cannot wait for the next sequel. These are actual like gems that I glued in, and I kind of regret it right after because it was such a pain to actually write over them. And I even lost the gem right here. Oh, I just noticed. I don't remember where this was. All right, well, there you go. Don't glue gems in your notebook, guys. All right, next one is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. This was also a very adorable read, so highly recommend it. Next, I had Gallant, and I think I have a reel on my Instagram that shows you how I made the spread, so feel free to check it out if you want. Next one is The Drowned Woods. There's a corgi in this book, so I obviously had to put a corgi sticker. Give me all the dogs. Next is The Comfort Book, and this is a great book. It's pretty short and very quick read, so I recommend it. Next, we have the September cover page, and I didn't really read a lot of books in September. I think I only read 3, and this is just like some basic stats. And this scrapbooking paper is from, I think I bought it at Michael's, but it's so beautiful. I love the gold foiling on it. So the first book that I read in September was The Love Hypothesis, and I mean, I kind of liked it, but then I read Love on the Brain right after it, and I was like, okay, I have enough, and like they're like complete opposites, but they're also like the same exact book, so I don't know what's going on in my head. I was like, I think I'm tired of this author. I don't like her anymore. So yeah, we have 2 extremes right here. Next spread is Babel, and this was my favorite book of the year. I really love R.F. Kuang. Like, she might be one of my favorite authors, and I love languages and linguistics in general, and so this book was like right up my alley, and I just adored and inhaled it. It's such a great story. All right, next one is my October, and this is the October cover page. I only read 2 books in October. I was slacking. First one was Her Majesty's Royal Coven. Wasn't a huge fan of it either. I don't think I'm going to continue the series. The next one was Demon in the Wood. That is just like a very short graphic novel, and I'm a huge Darkling girl, so I was like very excited to read, or actually like I already read the story before. This was just like in a graphic novel kind of way, so the visuals were like super cool. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Then I just have like a quote from Jules Verne. In November, I read 3 books. The first one was A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting, and this is such a cute book. I highly recommend it. It's so good. I was like obsessed with it. Next one was The Book Eaters. That is also a super cool book. I know people are like a bit torn on it, but I personally really liked it. And then the last one was The Cartographers, and this one started off really well, but then it just got very annoying, and I didn't like it. It had such good premises. Like I wanted to love it, and I didn't. I was disappointed with it. Finally, it's my December. These are all of the books that I read. I decided to skip the stats for December because, as you noticed from the previous month, I started reading less and less. I didn't know how many books I was going to read, but turns out I read like 6 in December, so I should have done a stats, but I just ignored it. The first book was Wild and Wicked Things. I just wasn't a huge fan of it either. Next one was Violet Made of Thorns. This was an okay book. I think I'm gonna give the series one more chance. And then the next one was The Dragon's Promise. Man, I really wanted to love this one. I was like obsessed with Six Crimson Cranes. It was like one of my favorite books. And then I had like such high hopes for this one. And yeah, it's just like, it was very disappointing. So should have left it at a standalone. Next one is Only a Monster. And I really love this book. This book was great. I cannot wait for the next book to come out. And then next book was The Final Gambit, which is the final book in the Inheritance Games trilogy. Thank God I'm done with this trilogy. I like the mystery aspect is so good, but I hate main characters so much. Like, go away. And also like they completely destroyed my favorite character in this last book, so it was a bit heartbreaking. I didn't like it at all. And the final book in December was Fevered Star, and this is such a great like series. This is the second book in the Black Sun trilogy. The first book is amazing. The second one wasn't as good as the first one. However, like it sets the road like pretty nicely for the third book, which I cannot wait to get. And it's like such a great fantasy novel, and like it has everything you're ever gonna need: intrigue, death, like gods walking amongst man. What more do you want? It's so good. Well, those were all of the spreads, my book spreads for the second half of the year. I didn't read as many as the first half, so I still had like a bunch of empty pages left, which I don't know what to do with. But the last part that I want to talk to you was my reading starts for 2022 and my wrap up. And so I decided to make this wrap up page. I said goodbye to 2022 here. It was a great reading year for me. And then as you open this, you go into my actual reading stats, and I also decided to give out book awards. So in 2022, I ended up reading 63 books. That was almost 24,000 pages, which was a pretty great reading year for me. And then I had 53 authors that I read. Majority of my reads are in the 4 to 5 star bucket range, and that could be because like I'm a bit too lenient with my rating, I feel like. So maybe going forward, I'm gonna be a bit stricter with who I give 4 or 5 stars. Next, I did some reading stats. So I looked at the amount of books by author identity, some male versus female, nationality, race, and then I looked at the genre. So fiction versus nonfiction, whether there's an LGBTQ plus rep, YA versus adult, and all of the actual genres. And then I looked at the publishing year. Since I'm trying to read through my physical TBR, most of my books are in the 2022-2021 publishing year range. And then most of them are physical and ebooks, and then also like my reads by month. February was actually my best month in books. I read 10 books that month. That's amazing. And then I was just kind of like slacking. All right, next one is the book awards. This was so hard. I read so many great books. It was super hard to just pick your top 3. But the top 3 that I picked was Babel, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and then The Art of Racing in the Rain. This book is just so freaking adorable. I was like smiling and crying, like it gave me all sorts of emotions. For best characters, I decided to pick Jude from Other Words for Home. This is a super adorable story. Highly recommend it. Kiki from Six Crimson Cranes. She's like, I want a best friend like Kiki. Like, she's adorable. And then Enzo from The Act of Racing in the Rain. This is the dog from the book, and I'm like, just give me any dogs, and like, it's gonna be my favorite character. For my memorable quote, I had space for 2, so I just wrote 2 of them. First one is from Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and it says, make them pay you what they would pay a white man. Like, preach, girl. Then the second one is from Other Words for Home. There is an Arabic proverb that says, she makes you feel like a loaf of freshly baked bread. It is said about the nicest, kindest people, the type of people who help you rise. I thought that was like the sweetest thing, so I had to include it. Next, I gave other awards. So like the best series that I read, which was Kingdom of the Wicked. I mean, I don't normally have like crushes on fictional male characters, but Wrath can get it. Like, damn. Yeah, I'm obsessed with Wrath. What can I say? Next one is my best duology. And I did Six Crimson Cranes because the first book was just so freaking good. And even though like I didn't love the second book as much, it was still, I think it was the only duology I read actually. So yeah, I didn't have any other competitors, so that was, I guess, easy to pick. And then my favorite, so the best standalone was Babel by R.F. Kuang. And then I gave out awards, so like which book made me cry, and The Art of Racing in the Rain was one of them, and then Crying in H Mart. Amazing books, both of them. Which book made me laugh? The Art of Racing in the Rain made me both cry and laugh. I love that book. And then which one made me happy? The Comfort Book, and also Other Words for Home. Which one made me angry? That would be All My Rage. Which one made me sad? That was Mouse. And then which one did I learn the most from? That was A Life on Our Planet by David Attenborough. Next, we go through the worst books that I read. This was also a bit difficult to pick from, but the worst book was Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I don't think I'm ever going to read anything from this author ever again. Like, I really disliked it. Next one was The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I mean, I don't know. I just wasn't a fan of that book at all. The next one was Gender Swapped Fairy Tales. This was not what I was expecting, so not a fan. All right, next, I gave awards to the worst characters ever. Number 1 was Avery Kylie Grahams from the Inheritance Games. I cannot stand this character. So yeah, I'm glad I'm done with all of this series. Next one was B. Koningsvassa. I don't know. The author just put a bunch of German words in it, from Love on the Brain. And then last one was Donis Fontaine from Firekeeper's Daughter. And lastly, which I don't think this is an award, but the shortest book I read was Number the Stars with 137 pages, and the longest was A Court of Silver Flames with 757 pages. So that was all of my reading stats and book awards for 2022. I can't wait to do this spread again for next year. Very excited. So hopefully I will keep everything in one journal next year, but who knows. I am actually kind of glad that I tried another size, because I did find out that I kind of like this kind of layout slightly a bit more than the square journal. So maybe I might do a B5 next time. I'm not sure. But yeah, I can't wait to share with you all of the next spreads that I'll be working on. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.